Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun!
The moon cast a soft glow over the balcony as Olivia and Asher savored a quiet dinner, nestled in the heart of their cozy apartment. Amidst the aroma of basil and garlic, they engaged in a familiar ritual, unwinding after a long day. "This Halloween, I thought..." Olivia twirled a strand of angel hair pasta, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. "What if we step into something unconventional for the party?" Asher, his attention momentarily captured by a never-ending email chain, nodded with subtle curiosity. Their bond, having weathered 2 autumns, had seamlessly woven these festive gatherings into their calendar. Yet this suggestion, brimming with intrigue, was not to be scrolled past. Olivia's lips curled into a mysterious grin, revealing the beginning of a mischievous scheme. "I was thinking something a bit more interesting." Something in her tone made Asher look up from his phone. "What does interesting mean?" "Well," she drew out the word, swirling the burgundy liquid in her glass. "I was thinking I could go as Danny Zuko, and you could go as Sandy, post-makeover Sandy, in the black outfit from the end of Grease." The fork slipped from Asher's fingers, clattering against the ceramic plate. "You want me to dress as a woman?" "Not just any woman." Olivia's eyes sparkled with excitement. "But a hot, confident woman in a killer outfit." "But I'm..." Asher gestured to his 6-foot frame, broad shoulders, and the dark stubble shadowing his jaw. "Not exactly feminine." "That's what makeup and the right clothes are for," Olivia countered, leaning forward. "Trust me, I could transform you. Nobody would recognize you. It would be amazing." "I don't know, Liv. Just think about it," she said, reaching across the table to touch his hand. "It would be something completely different. We'd have the most original costumes there." Over the next week, Olivia continued her campaign, showing him examples of men who had dressed as women for Halloween, emphasizing how much fun it would be, how they'd surprise everyone. Gradually, his resistance began to weaken. "Fine," he finally conceded one evening. "But if I look ridiculous, we're switching to Plan B." Olivia squealed with delight, throwing her arms around his neck. "You won't regret it. You're going to make a stunning Sandy." The night of the Halloween party arrived faster than Asher had anticipated. He sat nervously on the edge of their bed, watching Olivia lay out what seemed like an arsenal of makeup on their dresser. "Are all of those going on my face?" he asked, eyeing the collection with growing apprehension. "Not all at once," Olivia laughed, adjusting the black leather jacket that completed her Danny Zuko costume. Her dark hair was slicked back with gel, and she'd even painted on a suggestion of sideburns. "Let's start with your foundation." The transformation took over 2 hours. Olivia worked methodically, applying layer after layer of products Asher couldn't name. He felt the strange sensation of brushes sweeping across his skin, the slight tug as she applied false eyelashes, the waxy texture of lipstick being painted onto his mouth. "Don't look yet," she instructed when he tried to peek at his reflection. "We need to get you dressed first, then the wig." The black cocktail dress she'd selected was tight and made from some stretchy material that hugged the fake curves she'd created with strategic padding. It fell just above his knees, showing more of his legs than he'd ever displayed in public. The black heels she handed him looked impossibly tall.
"I can't walk in these,"
he protested. "Yes, you can," Olivia insisted, helping him balance. Small steps. Heel, then toe.
That's it.
The blonde wig was the final touch, a cascade of golden waves that fell past his shoulders. Only after securing it in place did Olivia allow him to turn toward the full-length mirror on their closet door. The person staring back at him was a stranger. His angular jaw was somehow softened. His eyes looked larger and more expressive beneath the smoky eyeshadow and thick lashes. The red lipstick made his mouth appear fuller, more sensuous. The blonde hair framed a face he barely recognized as his own. "Oh my God," he whispered, bringing a hand to his face. "I told you," Olivia said, standing behind him with her hands on his shoulders. "You make a beautiful woman. What should we call you tonight?" Asher couldn't take his eyes off his reflection. "What?" "You need a name. You can't be Asher tonight. That would ruin the illusion." He considered for a moment, still transfixed by the transformation.
"Zoe,"
he said finally.
"I'll be Zoe for the night."
When they arrived at the Hendersons' house, Asher, or rather Zoe, felt a flutter of panic. The party was already in full swing, with costumed guests spilling onto the front porch and into the yard. He hesitated at the car door. "I can't do this," he said, clutching the small purse Olivia had given him. Olivia leaned across the console. "Yes, you can. You look amazing. Nobody will recognize you. That's the whole point." Taking a deep breath, he stepped out of the car, wobbling slightly on the heels before finding his balance. Together, they made their way to the front door, Olivia's hand reassuringly at the small of his back. The moment they stepped inside, heads turned. Frank Henderson, dressed as a pirate, approached them with a broad smile.
"Olivia, great Travolta impression,"
he said, giving her costume an appreciative nod before turning to Asher.
"And who's your friend? I don't think we've met."
Asher froze, but Olivia smoothly interjected. "This is Zoe, my cousin from out of town. She's staying with me for the weekend."
"Well, welcome to our little gathering, Zoe,"
Frank said, clearly having no idea he was talking to the same man who had attended his poker nights for the past year.
"Let me get you both a drink."
As the night progressed, Asher found himself settling into his role as Zoe. The initial discomfort of the heels faded as he learned to move in them. He discovered that people interacted with him differently. Men were more attentive, offering to fetch drinks or engaging him in conversation that felt subtly different from the interactions he was used to.
"So, Zoe,"
one of Olivia's co-workers asked,
"how are you liking our little town?"
Asher pitched his voice slightly higher.
"It's lovely. Very different from where I'm from."
"And where is that?"
"Seattle,"
he improvised.
"Lots of rain, lots of coffee."
The conversation flowed easily, and Asher found himself enjoying the charade. There was something liberating about being someone else, about slipping into a different identity where the usual expectations didn't apply. Later, as a dance area cleared in the living room, Olivia pulled him onto the floor. "You're a natural," she whispered as they swayed to the music. "Are you having fun?" He nodded, surprised to realize it was true. "It's different, but yes, I am." "You look beautiful," she said, her eyes reflecting sincerity. "The blonde hair really suits you." A strange warmth bloomed in his chest at her words. He'd never thought of himself as beautiful, had never expected to feel pleased at such a description. But in that moment, moving in the tight black dress with the blonde hair brushing against his shoulders, He felt a confidence he'd never experienced before. As the party wound down, several people asked Olivia when Zoe would be visiting again, expressing disappointment that she was only in town for the weekend. Asher found himself oddly touched by their genuine interest in his alter ego. Back at their apartment, Asher carefully removed the blonde wig, placing it on the styrofoam head Olivia had bought for it. He stood in front of the bathroom mirror, wiping away the layers of makeup with the special remover Olivia had purchased. "What did you think?" she asked, leaning against the doorframe, watching him. He considered the question seriously. "It was enlightening," he said finally. "Different than I expected." "Different how?" "I felt, I don't know, free somehow, like I could be anyone." He paused, meeting her eyes in the mirror. "Thank you for pushing me to do it." Olivia smiled softly. "Anytime. Maybe Zoe can make another appearance someday." Asher nodded thoughtfully, running his fingers through his short brown hair.
Maybe she could.
2 weeks later, on a quiet Saturday afternoon, Asher found himself alone in the apartment. Olivia had gone to visit her parents for the weekend, leaving him with plans to catch up on work and maybe watch the football game. Instead, he found himself opening the closet door where the blonde wig sat atop its stand. He stared at it for a long moment before carefully lifting it off. He carried it to the bathroom, where the makeup Olivia had used on him was still organized in a separate bag from her everyday products. His hands trembled slightly as he opened the bag, removing the foundation, concealer, and eyeshadow palette. He recalled Olivia's careful instructions, the way she had applied each product. His first attempt was clumsy, the foundation too thick in some places, not blended properly in others. The eyeliner smudged, making him look more raccoon than elegant. He washed it all off and started again, more carefully this time. The second attempt was better. Not as polished as Olivia's work, but recognizable as intentional makeup rather than a haphazard mess. He secured the blonde wig on his head, adjusting it until it sat naturally. The black dress was still hanging in the back of the closet, wrapped in a garment bag. He slipped it off the hanger, feeling the smooth material between his fingers. Stepping into it felt like crossing a threshold. This was no longer about a Halloween costume or a joke. This was something else entirely. Dressed once more as Zoe, he studied his reflection. Without the context of the party, without Olivia's presence validating the transformation, it should have felt strange, uncomfortable. But it didn't. Instead, he felt a sense of rightness that was both exhilarating and terrifying. He practiced walking in the heels, up and down the hallway of their apartment, gaining confidence with each pass. He tried different postures, different expressions, watching how they changed his appearance in the mirror. When the sound of keys in the door startled him, Olivia returning early, his first instinct was panic, followed by the absurd urge to hide. But there was nowhere to go in their small apartment, and besides, she had been the architect of his initial transformation. Olivia froze in the doorway, grocery bags in hand, taking in the sight of him in the dress and wig. "Asher?" she said, her voice careful, neutral. "I was just—" he began, then faltered. How could he explain what he himself didn't fully understand? Olivia set the bags down slowly and crossed the room to where he stood. "You look good," she said finally, reaching up to adjust a strand of the blonde wig. "Better than I expected, considering you did this yourself." Relief washed over him. "I was curious," he admitted. "I wanted to see if I could do it on my own." And? She prompted.
And I think I like it,
He said quietly.
Is that weird?
Olivia considered him for a long moment. No, she said finally. It's not weird. Unexpected maybe, but not weird. She smiled, a small, thoughtful smile. So Zoe wants to come out and play more often? He nodded, grateful for her understanding.
If that's okay.
More than okay, Olivia said, squeezing his hand. In fact, I think Zoe needs some clothes of her own. That dress is perfect for a party, but maybe too much for everyday wear. That conversation marked the beginning of a new chapter in their relationship. Weekends became Zoe time, with Olivia teaching Asher everything she knew about makeup, hair, and feminine mannerisms. They went shopping together, with Asher dressed as a man but selecting clothes for his feminine alter ego. Try this, Olivia suggested, holding up an emerald green sweater dress in a department store. It would look amazing with your blonde hair. His collection grew. Dresses, skirts, blouses, even lingerie that made him feel deliciously feminine underneath his male clothes during the week. Olivia bought him a better quality blonde wig, one that looked more natural and was more comfortable to wear for extended periods. As Asher became more skilled with makeup and more confident in his movements as Zoe, they began to venture outside their apartment. First, just short walks in their neighborhood, then to a coffee shop several blocks away where nobody knew them. You're stirring your coffee like a man, Olivia whispered during one of these outings. Asher had been absently making wide circles with his spoon, the movement at odds with his carefully cultivated feminine appearance.
Sorry,
he murmured, adjusting to smaller, more delicate motions. Don't apologize, she said. This is a learning process. You should see how I looked the first time I tried to contour my face. I looked like I had dirt smeared all over. Her easy acceptance made everything easier. There were still moments of doubt, moments when Asher questioned what this all meant, but Olivia never pressured him to define it. She simply supported whatever expression felt right to him in the moment. 3 months after the Halloween party, Olivia suggested they go to a restaurant in a different part of town, somewhere they could have dinner with Asher fully presented as Zoe.
Are you sure?
He asked, zipping up the navy blue pencil skirt that now fit him perfectly. He'd paired it with a cream-colored blouse and a delicate gold necklace that Olivia had given him. Absolutely, she said, applying a final coat of mascara to his already long lashes. The blonde wig was styled in loose waves that framed his face beautifully. You're ready for this. You've never been clocked on our coffee outings. She was right. No one had ever given him a second glance, at least not in the way that suggested they saw through his feminine presentation. The looks he received now were appreciative or simply normal social acknowledgement. The restaurant was upscale but not formal, with dim lighting that cast a flattering glow over the diners. Asher felt a flutter of nerves as the host led them to their table, but the familiar weight of the blonde wig and the gentle pressure of his heels on the floor grounded him.
This is nice,
he said, once they were seated and had ordered drinks.
Thank you for suggesting it.
Olivia smiled across the table. You deserve a proper night out. Zoe shouldn't be limited to coffee shops and brief walks. As they enjoyed their meal, Asher found himself relaxing completely into his role as Zoe. The conversation flowed naturally, and he didn't have to think so consciously about the pitch of his voice or the way he held his fork. These things were becoming second nature. You know, Olivia said thoughtfully, swirling the wine in her glass. I've been thinking about something. What's that? Asher asked, dabbing at his mouth with his napkin, careful not to smudge his lipstick. "Have you ever considered that Zoe might be more than just a weekend thing?" The question caught him off guard. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Olivia leaned forward, her expression serious. "You seem so much more at ease like this, happier somehow. Have you thought about what that might mean?" Asher looked down at his hands. The nails painted a subtle pink that complemented his outfit. "I've thought about it," he admitted. "But it's complicated." "Life is complicated," Olivia said simply. "But it's shorter than we think. Too short to spend it being anyone other than who you truly are." The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Asher had been avoiding this deeper examination, focusing instead on the surface pleasures of his transformation, the clothes, the makeup, the different way people treated him. But Olivia's question forced him to look beyond that, to the profound sense of rightness he felt as Zoe. "I don't know if I'm ready to put a label on it," he said finally. "But I know that when I'm like this, it feels correct. Like I'm finally seeing myself clearly." Olivia reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "That's enough for now. There's no rush to figure everything out at once." But the conversation had opened a door that couldn't be closed. Over the next few weeks, Asher found himself thinking more critically about his identity, about the joy he found in presenting as Zoe, and the increasing discomfort he felt returning to his male presentation during the week. He began to research online, reading about gender identity and the experiences of transgender individuals. Many of their stories resonated with him, the sense of disconnect with their assigned gender, the relief and euphoria that came with presenting as their true selves. One evening, as he removed the blonde wig and wiped away his makeup, he found himself in tears. The sight of his masculine features re-emerging in the mirror felt like watching a beloved friend disappear, replaced by a stranger. Olivia found him sitting on the bathroom floor, makeup remover in one hand, tissues in the other. "I don't want to go back," he whispered when she knelt beside him. "I don't want to be him anymore." She gathered him into her arms, holding him as the realization broke over him like a wave. "Then don't," she said simply. "Be who you need to be." The decision to transition wasn't made in that moment, but it was acknowledged. Over the next month, Asher began seeing a therapist who specialized in gender identity. He started small doses of hormone therapy, watching with wonder as subtle changes began to reshape his body. The blonde wig remained his constant companion, but now it was joined by a growing collection of women's clothing that gradually replaced his male wardrobe. He practiced his voice daily, working to find a pitch and resonance that felt natural. Olivia supported him through every step, celebrating each small victory and providing comfort during moments of doubt or dysphoria. She was there when he legally changed his name from Asher to Zoe, clutching his hand as they left the courthouse with the official documents. "How does it feel?" she asked as they walked to the car. "Real," Zoe replied, tucking a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. "Like I've finally caught up to myself." Coming out to friends and family was a gradual process. Some relationships strained under the weight of the revelation, while others grew stronger. Zoe's parents struggled initially, but eventually came to accept their daughter, especially after seeing how much happier she was living authentically. 6 months into her hormone therapy, Zoe stood before the mirror in the burgundy dress she'd chosen for dinner with Olivia's parents. The blonde hair, once a wig, but now growing in naturally thanks to the hormones, framed a face that had softened in subtle but significant ways. Her body had changed too, curves developing where there had been angles, skin growing softer. You look beautiful, Olivia said, coming up behind her and wrapping her arms around Zoe's waist. My parents are going to love you. Even though I'm not the man they met last Christmas? Zoe asked, a hint of anxiety in her voice. They loved Asher because he made me happy, Olivia said firmly. They'll love Zoe for the same reason. She pressed a kiss to Zoe's shoulder. Besides, you're the same person inside, the kind, thoughtful, funny person I fell in love with. The packaging is just different. On the first anniversary of the Halloween party that had started it all, they returned to the Hendersons' annual celebration. This time, they went as themselves. No costumes, no pretense. Zoe wore an elegant black cocktail dress, different from the one she'd worn a year ago, but reminiscent of it, a nod to the beginning of her journey.
Olivia! Zoe!
Frank Henderson greeted them at the door, his warm smile genuine. He had met Zoe several times since her transition and had been unexpectedly supportive. Come in, everyone's in the back. As they moved through the house, Zoe caught glimpses of herself in mirrors and windows, the blonde hair that now fell naturally past her shoulders, the makeup applied with practiced ease, the posture and movements that no longer required conscious thought. The journey wasn't over. There would always be challenges, always be growth, but the distance already traveled was remarkable. What are you thinking about? Olivia asked, handing her a glass of champagne. Zoe smiled, taking in the room full of friends who had accepted her new identity, some with immediate understanding, others after a period of adjustment, but all now treating her as simply Zoe, no qualifiers needed. I'm thinking about how one night can change everything, she said. How a Halloween costume became the most honest thing I've ever worn. Olivia raised her glass. To costumes that reveal rather than conceal. Zoe clinked her glass against Olivia's. And to partners who see us more clearly than we see ourselves. As the night unfolded around them, Zoe found herself in conversation with a new neighbor who had recently moved onto their street. I love your hair, the woman said. That shade of blonde is perfect with your complexion. Is it natural? Zoe laughed, the sound light and genuine. It is now, she said, touching the golden waves that had become such an integral part of her identity. It's the most natural thing about me. And in a way, that was the truth. The journey from Asher to Zoe, from costume to authentic self, had been a path toward naturalness, toward alignment between inner truth and outer expression. What had begun as a reluctant agreement to please his girlfriend had evolved into the most profoundly honest act of Zoe's life. Later that night, as they walked home hand in hand beneath a canopy of stars, Zoe stopped suddenly, turning to face Olivia. Thank you, she said, her voice thick with emotion, for suggesting that costume, for seeing something in me that I couldn't see in myself. Olivia reached up, tucking a strand of blonde hair behind Zoe's ear. I didn't create Zoe, she said softly. She was always there, waiting for the right moment to emerge. I just opened the door. Zoe leaned down, pressing her forehead against Olivia's. Still, thank you for opening it, for walking through it with me. Always, Olivia promised, sealing the word with a kiss as the autumn leaves danced around their feet, witnesses to a love that had transformed alongside them both.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!